All right, check, check. Let's try that again. Check, check. Let's make sure this is working. Looks like a little bit of a delay. Check, check. Awesome. We are working. We are back. Guys, welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. Thank you for watching in replay or live. Hope you all are having a fantastic Friday or weekend. So thank you for being here. Having a little bit of technical issues, so I had to restart the stream. I apologize for that. But check this out. I just need to log in again, and I didn't want to show some of my personal information. Hope you guys can understand. But let's get into it. So this week, if you guys are subscribed to the channel, you've heard me talking about how we've had the biggest news of the year as far as what is going to be impacting the markets in the short and near term, and that is the Fed rate cuts. The Fed cut rates by 50 basis points. Myself and many others were thinking they're going to do 25. That did not happen. So we will look at the data and see if we have somewhat of an educated clue of where we are going. Ashley, welcome. Thank you for joining the live stream. I appreciate the cool sunglasses emoji. So before we get into Bitcoin having a pretty good move here, let's get this out of the way. Let's talk about the Fed rate cuts. And on the surface, this is one chart myself, many others been looking at, and that is when the Fed has cut rates by 50 basis points. Typically that has been bad in the near term. I'm talking about the next year or two. But we only have a couple data points to pull from. The great financial crisis, that was the peak of the markets, as well as the dot-com bubble at the peak there as well. As you can see, in 1998, 2019, I've been talking about comparing more to a 1998 style economy, dot-com bubble, AI bubble, just the way the market's shaping up. I believe that we still have room to run. We will see if those are famous last words. But the other thing that I talked about in one of my last videos is I don't want us getting too stuck on this 50 number. We see 50, and this is just one data point. We see 50, we see it's bad, and we think, okay, should I sell everything? Again, whenever you are investing for the short term, the long term, my recommendation, of course not financial advice, is to take multiple data points and then have an informed decision. So have a plan. And I think we're getting too stuck on this 50 number. The Fed isn't meeting next month. And so them cutting by 50 basis points now for September and October is an average of 25. So for all intents and purposes, this was kind of like a 25 basis point cut. I haven't heard anyone else talking about this. So an average of 50 over 2 months, maybe we still are looking at one of these scenarios. I think the markets, again, still have room to run. Let's move on to one of the other charts that I think is very important, and that is two of the averages for what happens with the markets. This is obviously for the S&P 500, whether there has been a recession or no recession. And I talked about in the last video how the dark green line to me has resembled more of what the S&P has been doing. It hasn't been sideways, it's been going up. And since the dip in 2022, it's been going up a lot. Actually, at times, sometimes challenging record amounts of gains in the S&P 500 in that period of time. So we've had a positive market, and as you can see on average, into rate cuts, this dark green line, there's a 10% correction that happened. Well, we had that. If you guys remember us talking about the yen carry trade unwinding and the effect that had on the markets, let's zoom in into the daily. That was back here. We had our 10% correction. All right, you can see that right there, 9.72, whatever. Again, we zoom out. This isn't a sideways market since the dip of 2022. This has been an upward market. So going back over to this chart, that's another reason why I'm still looking for the dark green line scenario as far as us still having a year to run. I think just my initial gut reaction off how the markets reacted right away so far, they reacted pretty positively. So if we just go over, let's just look at the last 5 days. Let's look at this week. You know where the Fed rate cut happened. Okay, you can see it right here. So September 18th, Fed cut rates. The S&P 500 moved on up pretty decently. Came back to support at the 200 resistance on the 5-minute chart. I know we're zooming way in here. That's not what I like to do as an investor, but sometimes you do want to see sometimes how the market reacts to important things like this. But you can see it came back down there, and as far as we know or can see, it's still positive. So positive move off here. If the markets are going to remain positive, then inflation may not be squashed quite yet. That is more my bigger concern than the stock market crashing, is actually what happens with inflation. Is inflation going to kick back up again and the Fed's going to have to pause rates? Or are they going to have to hold rates? And yes, I am going to be getting into Bitcoin in a little bit, but this is all important stuff. So let's take a quick look at what happened. So I'll move one thing on my table here pretty quick. We're going to look at the U.S. interest rates. And, oh yeah, we got to zoom way out. And so I don't believe, or I didn't get the sense of when Powell was talking, that the Fed is just going to cut rates down to zero like it did in 2008, like it did in 2019. If they do that, they are going to be really worried about inflation. However, you can see here, the data at the bottom, 1998, excuse me, this is when the Fed cut rates for a little bit and then held, and the market still went up. We just talked about 1998, so that's more the scenario I'm looking for. I wouldn't doubt if the Fed cut or was looking to cut down somewhere to the 3 to 4% range. By the way, if you did watch that video, I misspoke about 4.5%. They were talking about unemployment rate, and I was getting as much data as I could and getting a video for you guys, so misinterpreted that piece of data, my bad. But I believe Powell did say they wanted to cut another 75 basis points. So they're not meeting in October, right? We talked about average of 25 basis points per month. They are meeting in November and December. So 75 more basis points. I think November, how much they cut by, is really going to show us a lot more. So if the markets are running hot, they may just cut by 25 basis points and wait to see if the markets are still going to be supercharged and hot. If the economy, if unemployment's still going up, transportation going down, all those other factors. So just keep an eye on what happens in November. I think that is going to be more of a telltale of where the Fed thinks the economy is. Again, this 50 basis point cut, I want us to move away from just that number. I know we see red and we're like, oh God, 50 basis points. We're going to have dot-com bubble, great financial crisis. Well, we may, but not yet, or at least a considerable hard landing. I'm still in that camp that there will be a hard landing. I just don't think it'll be soon. What I'm leaning towards still is this 1998 style scenario. So comment below whether you're watching live or in replay if you agree or disagree with that. I'd love to know your comments. We'll just go over a couple things before we get into all things crypto. Let's take a look at the VIX on the daily. You can see the VIX has settled down quite nicely, and on the daily, getting to the 200-day moving average. Let's get rid of the RSI here so we can see that better. Getting to the 200-day moving average, and yeah, just kind of staying nice and low. And this, to be honest, this surprises me a little bit, because even though we had this big VIX spike and it kind of freaked the market, I'm like thinking to myself, are things really okay now? You know, the Fed cut by 50 basis points. The markets reacted very positively. We had a giant green day on Thursday. I'm like, where's the volatility? Election years, especially for presidential election years, there's volatility. We had this yen carry trade. We have rate cuts, which often put volatility into markets. And so I do worry about it. Like, all this, like, to me has got, I don't know, it has me feeling somewhat suspicious of just how the markets are moving. And maybe we are being lulled to sleep a little too much. So I'm still waiting for volatility. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I wouldn't get too comfortable yet. There's just something about the way the markets have reacted so positively. And as far as stocks go, I have a defensive mindset right now. In my opinion, you know, if I believe there's somewhere around a year, give or take, until possible, you know, just turn to the downside, I'm going to be investing more defensively. With crypto, we talk about this in videos every Monday or Tuesday, so subscribe if you want content for that. But for crypto, we talk about these cycles and how we've had these 4-year cycles where Bitcoin has shot up. I'm more into altcoins, Bitcoin mining stocks, but every 4 years, late in those 4 years, you guys can see November, December, that has been the peak. Now, I will say, I am keeping an eye on this April number as a possibility as far as target, or again, guys, when you watch my videos, I hope you know, I don't try to get too married to predictions. I just use this as a general range. And one of my rules for investing, or at least in the world of crypto, trade vesting, because if you want to get the lows and take profits at the highs, what's more important than your predictions is your plan. And too many people get stuck on being as right as possible. And I don't care about being right in my predictions as far as my outlook, as much as my plan being right, way more often than not. So when I do my investments, I'm looking for more of a range, or my trade investments for crypto, I'm looking for a range. I'm looking for a solid plan. You know, I try to answer the essential question in these videos: is now a good time to buy, or a better value time to buy? I will never claim to be able to get the exact bottoms, the exact tops, or anything like that. I want to be close, within 20% of that. That's always my goal, 10%. I try to be as close as possible, of course. But as far as my plan, I try to look for better value, look for good stocks, look for good cryptos, all that sort of thing. So again, all because I'm talking about April being a possibility, I don't want you guys thinking, well, oh God, this guy's saying the top's in April. Not quite, you know. Please take away from my videos more so just take or leave with a grain of salt any of the ways that I show you how I look for value, and play with your plan. See what works for you and doesn't work for you. So crypto, right now, you know, there's one thing that's been a pattern that's very curious to me, and that's, at least in the rainbow chart, that it's gone up one of these color zones every halving. You guys can see that. The halvings are those vertical lines. Every halving, it's gone up one of these zones. Well, what's happened the last few times with the tops? Well, with the tops, right here, this was above the max bubble territory zone. And then 2017, it was in that zone. 2021, it was here at the middle and lower end. You guys can see that right there. Even though Bitcoin went higher here in late 21, it was still at the lower end of this band. So my thesis has been that the top of Bitcoin will be somewhere around this orange range. Okay, and if we're looking at an early top, whether April, March, whatever, Then the lower area of that orange box you can see is around 150. Okay, if we're looking for a 4-year cycle, more something topping in October, November of 2025, then you can see that be closer to like 184, give or take. So let's go over to Bitcoin, and I'll show you why that's important for any new viewers who haven't watched my content. All right, so a couple things to look for. I just talked about 150K. Why is that important? Well, first of all, let's get into the Fibonacci retracements. All right, let's put this back on auto. A couple ways you could draw Fibonacci retracements. Right now, Bitcoin is between the prior high and low, and so I have drawn a Fibonacci retracement from the high to the low. Long-term investment-minded person like myself, I look at things on a log scale. But when you're looking for price targets, you want to take your fib off log scale, and you can see these price targets right here. And I think it's no surprise that we see the 2618 fib at 155K. Right? By the way, the 1618, again, we're talking about this a lot. The 1618 lines up with the trend line Bitcoin's been in love with, lines up with the double top from 2021, and this green line here, which is the average. Sorry, there's a bunch of things going on here. I really got to declutter this. The average amount of days from a new all-time high to a peak. This was the first time ever we had a new all-time high. That's this yellow vertical line before the halving. Usually it's come after. So I wondered, okay, if we do get an early top, what's the average again, give or take? And that's what puts us out later or at the end of this year. Now, I'm not saying it's going to make new all-time highs or be at 100K at the end of this year, but we'll see what happens. And as far as Bitcoin getting to 150K, a couple things to know about this. One, you see that fib extension, the 2618. Every cycle, okay, we'll go to this. Let this load up again. Every cycle in this rainbow chart, it has hit a lower fib extension each time. So if I'm looking at the 2618 at 150K sometime next year, maybe it's earlier next year, just know that each time before we've hit higher areas on that fib retracement. So again, we can just draw from the high to the low right here, and you guys can see Bitcoin was at the 3618, the 4236. Okay, before that, let's go to right here. Okay, before 2017, high to low, and it was even higher. So each time there's been diminished returns. That's why I look at the rainbow chart. It shows that, and just by the average amount of diminished returns, that's why I'm kind of targeting somewhere between the 1618 and the 2618, somewhere between really between 100K and 155K. I think as it gets close to 155K, that's when the alarm bells are going to be going off in my head. That's when I'm going to be saying, okay, I have to be taking profits, and I'll be looking to get out. Let's go to Bitcoin dominance and talk about the importance of this. So Bitcoin dominance, let's put this on auto, clean it up a little bit. Bitcoin dominance. Take a look at this chart, and you guys can see when it's going up, it's not always been great for alts. When it's been going down, that's when it's great for alts. It's really all you got to know. 2021 in April, when we had alt season, Bitcoin was going up, and that's when alts were doing great. I will say in 2017, when there was alt season, Bitcoin was more going lateral or down at that time in late 2017. So, the more important factor, at least the two data points that have shown us this, is as Bitcoin dominance has tanked to this low 40 percentile, that's when altcoins, that's when Bitcoin miners have exploded. And in 2017, you can see there was about 4 weeks until it got down there. And I'll never forget January 8th. That's when the altcoin market exploded. And many altcoins were just all of a sudden selling off massive amounts. And I learned a very important lesson about not being more greedy than I need to be and taking profits where is there. So I was one of the lucky ones who bought the bottom of Tron, and I did not sell the top of it. And I feel pretty stupid for not selling the top of a 200x. So overall, still made great money, but I could have made a lot more. So knowing that lesson last time around, when Bitcoin dominance got low, I knew better and was able to sell. I didn't get the exact top on all my altcoins, but I still made a great amount of money, and I felt better about it because the top wasn't too much later. And if I would have waited past the top, the same thing would have happened as in 2017. So even if you don't sell the exact top, at least from my experience, I was able to get better profits just being prepared for this and selling into the top rather than waiting and hoping it would go higher. But what is important to know, just something to remember is that in 21, we did have that double top. You guys remember looking at that on the chart. And so dominance, as it started to kind of zigzag and then come back down, there were many alts that did not run here that did run here. So just something to keep in mind. As far as Bitcoin dominance, where it is now, you can see it's going up. And it loves this 20-week moving average on the weekly, of course, 20-week moving average. It is moving durably higher, okay? It's ironic, or I don't know, curious to me how just from the descending trend line and this horizontal trend line, you can see right there. I just tried to put it as much confluence back here, and as of course the dip, that right where those two trend lines meet, that's where Bitcoin dominance hit those trend lines. I drew this way before all this happened, and it's going up further. I mind the 62% number because when dominance really started to drop and level out, it has a level there. You can see the dips hit it here, and the peaks hit it here and here, as well as there's some action back here. And as far as the height of where dominance got in 2021, it had this double peak. It came down, or it came up to this level that really had that first big drop in dominance from the cycle before in 2017. So if that's to happen again from the first big drop, okay, where it came to, I would say, again, dominance could go to 70%. It might only go to 60%. I don't care. But I'm looking for something around this level as a peak should this type of pattern continue. So we'll see. As far as tether dominance, so first things first, Bitcoin dominance is bullish, which means we still have time to buy alts. It's not too late for alt season. As far as tether dominance, what you guys know is that when it hits this trend line, let's take off our moving averages so you guys can see it better. When we hit this trend line, that has been local tops. That was the top before COVID, the 2019 mid-cycle top, the 2017 top, first and second Bitcoin top. So I'll show you that. We have the pre-halving top. I'll show you that on the rainbow chart. So those tops were here, mid-cycle top, the top before COVID, the double top, and the most recent top that we had in March. Okay, that's what is reflected on tether dominance. And overall, this trend is still bullish. If I was looking at tether dominance as a stock, I'd say, well, we have higher lows. We do have some resistance here, just from this downtrend and this fib, all right, around the 382 fib, but it's overall still bullish. We are not making lower highs, so I'd be expecting somewhere around 6%. Again, we'll see, but that's what I'm looking for as far as tether. Let's go over to Ethereum because it's a lot like the total 3 market cap. Let's put that on a log so it shows better. You can see Ethereum's like this trend line. It's had a good bounce off of it. It has this doji, and to you guys, if you don't know what dojis mean, is indicator that the market's undecided. So even though it's a green doji, Ethereum may be looking to go positive or negative. So let's get into Bitcoin miners. I know a lot of you guys like my channel for Bitcoin mining stocks. Let's take a look at some of them. If you have any stocks or cryptos that you would like for me to take a look at, please feel free to comment below. But let's start off with Marathon Digital Holding, and you can see it's wanting to get back up to, let's put on our moving averages. It's wanting to get up to those moving averages. And guys, a couple ways that I try to trade vests as far as mining stocks, crypto, altcoins, a couple areas I look for bigger values. So again, drawing a fib high to the low, these lower fib areas. Though I will say, like, all because a stock, crypto, whatever, gets down to a lower fib does not mean it's that much better of a buy. Yes, you are getting great value, but on the flip side, it's down there for a reason. So, many stocks will progressively move higher. So do know, just buying purely based off fibs isn't everything, but sometimes I'll set targets. So you could set a buy order and just leave it if you're looking for a discount at one of the lower fibs. That's kind of how I use fibs, if ever, for buying. But I really like the weekly and the monthly moving averages. And one of my other indicators, well, there's buy and sell signal indicators, of course. But a good DCA strategy is just stochastic RSI when the blue flips above the orange, as far as the oversold area for the stock RSI. Good way to DCA. Okay, again, not financial advice, but just some ways I look at it. Let's just add on our buy sell signals. That'll be the green and red dots, as you see. So Mara looking to get above a lot of resistance. That was support, so the 0.5, all these moving averages. We have Dr. 420. He wants Wolf. Dude, we're going to get into Wolf. I promise you that. So we have a lot of resistance. And right now, the miners, I'll say this. Overall, the mining stocks, I feel like they hold up better than a lot of the altcoin market. And if you guys subscribe to my channel, multiple reasons why I like miners more. But I will say, after the crypto market starts to get positive, sometimes miners lag a little bit, and that might give you a little bit of time, at least within a week, to get in where there's deals. So Mara, I like Mara. I like its balance sheet. And so, very positive assets, liabilities. I think it's one of the top Bitcoin mining stocks. I liked it down here. I was able to pick up some Mara. I feel good about that. Hopefully it doesn't break through this trend line. But if it does, I'll pick up more. That's how much I like Mara. We'll go to Riot. After Riot, let's do Wolf, for all the Wolf fans in here. Riot, my God. So we had this channel for Riot. I just drew a couple different trend lines, but you can see even as it got under the channel, it's settling at the 236. So again, is this greater value based off the fib? Yes. Does this show this is as good of a chart as Mara? No. So it's way further down under the moving averages. So just know, when you see charts like this, it's more of a gamble. And yet, like, if you really like Riot, I would not be missing out on this area myself at this 236 fib. You guys can see, Riot, it once used to be $20. And if you liked it, and you're like, oh God, I missed it, and you bought it here at 10, well, you have about a 30% discount from even this level. So, there's ways to think about it. My rule of thumb is, if you like a stock enough to buy it here, then you need to love it enough to buy it here. And if you don't, and you're not buying it when you are able to, then you shouldn't have bought to begin with. So do enough research to where you feel very strongly in what you're buying. Okay, if you don't feel strongly enough, then you didn't do enough research. And here at Market Psychology, again, we're trying to analyze emotions as an indicator. That's why we take a look at fear and greed all the time, which I think I skipped over at the beginning of this video. We'll get into that. That way you enact your plan, your trade investment plan, regardless of where emotions are at. And when there's fear, when things suck, you still get in because your research was part of your plan. So Riot, I like it here. And one thing I'll say with Riot, you guys can see how the peaks, look at this, alt season 2017, alt season 2021. Okay, if we get an alt season, whether let's go down the line here. Let's say April 21, that continues. We're talking about $160 riot. I mean, that'd be crazy. To me, that's worth taking a gamble on riot just a little bit. And if we have more of a 4-year cycle, we're talking about $190. So, just something to consider and think about that. Yes, riot sucks right now, but I just take a look at, this trend line. It's still positive. Riot may be worth taking a little bit of a play on. I'm not saying to invest more than your budget, but if that trend continues, that'd be pretty amazing. That'd be over 20x. Let's go to wolf for all you animals out there. I'm a wolf holder myself. So compared to riot, this is a better chart. Now, might you get, if riot's scenario were to play out like I just talked about, would that happen with wolf? I don't know. What I will say, as far as last alt season, many of the top mining stocks got between 20 to $30 billion. Okay, so that would be around a 15x for the market cap if wolf were to get to that 20 to $30 billion level. However, if you take a look at some of those higher price targets for riot, for Mara, some of those higher price targets, if it continues its trend, would be somewhere around the $35 to $50 billion. So each cycle, obviously with inflation, organically boosting prices a little bit, and the whole crypto space growing, $35 to $50 billion is my market cap target for some of these top alts. Okay, so that could be for TeraWolf even bigger, right? We're talking maybe this could be a 20x plus play. But as far as what we got going on right now, we have a weekly buy signal. That's good. Actually, let's go back to the stochastic RSI. Let's see if the stock RSI has flipped positive. I would assume it has. Usually those things, not yet. So that buy sell signal is a leading indicator, by the way. I do have also a buy sell signal that's more of a lagging indicator. It's called UT bot alerts. I use this in bear markets. Bull markets, I want to get ahead of moves. Bear markets, I want to be careful if I'm making big value long-term plays. But right now, it flipped over here, okay, but then it sold off a little bit. So is it going to flip again as it did down here and down here? Both great value times, the dollar cost average in. So maybe it's getting ready to flip again. But again, the buy-sell signal indicator is green. Let's take a look at this on. Well, before I go to the daily, you can see, okay, the 0.5 fib, this green line, has been trouble for TeraWolf, as well as this 200 moving average. So we have this doji. Again, you guys know what doji means, undecided, could be up or down, but there's a buy signal. If it's able to get above, we have the 200 week moving average, which is big resistance. You can see the candles were never able to quite close fully above it, continue its trend. And then you have the 651 range, okay? So we're looking for price right now. What's TeraWolf at? It's at 459, okay? We're looking to get above that green line, 485, and then 504, and then 648, okay? But let's say we get rejected. Let's say TeraWolf gets further down here. Well, you can see candle body-wise, it likes this 100-week moving average. So you can set a buy order for 347. Sounds like a good discount to me if you like TeraWolf. We have the 50-week moving average, which it hit on the wick along with the 382 fib. So you could set a couple buy orders, maybe split them if you believe that there could be some bearishness sooner than later for around 320, because of course moving averages are always changing, or 287. I'd do 290 just to not pinch pennies. You can try to put at the exact fib, but you don't have to. Let's take a look on the daily. On the daily, to me, this looks even better. On the daily, this looks like it has more support off that 200-day moving average and that fib, the 382. You can see it's like in that 100, but Right now it's got this battle going on. It had that initial rejection, but I like how it came down and it's still showing strength. So we want to see it get above, and not right now. You can even see back here last time it got above. Okay, that was a lower high from here. So you do want to get above that $5 mark, and for this to no longer be lower high from that point. If not, if it isn't able to get above that $5 mark, then again, I think if you do want to scoop up some wolf, that 100-day moving average would be a good area to look at. So wanted to give you some extra wolf content because I know you guys like it. I won't go through all the miners. Cypher's one I like, and of course it looks like crap. But Cypher, why Cypher? Why? You can see here, okay, a lot of price action in the middle of this, and that's probably why it's getting stuck back here. But you can set a buy order for that fib if you're a Cypher fan around the low 240s. Let's go over to the weekly, see what we got on the weekly. Man, that's brutal. Now, we do have these higher lows, but we had that last time. And, I remember in here, I was feeling pretty good because I was like, Cypher, it's got a lot of good support. It's got the 618, the moving averages. But again, that's sometimes why we wait for those buy signals. So the buy signal is never able to confirm it. Showing higher lows, showing support, and nope. And so are we going to see that again? And again, guys, that's a reason you can DCA the stochastic RSI and the buy signals. And I once was talking to someone. He's like, your buy signals are always late and your sell signals are always a little late. And I said, I don't need to time the exact bottom and the exact top. Okay, if this is, well, let's zoom out a little bit. If this is 100% of the profit sandwich, okay, and you just wait for the buy signal and the sell signal, you're still getting 60 to maybe even 90% of what's in the middle, and I'm fine with that. So there isn't any indicator that times the exact bottom and the exact top every single time perfectly to the T. It doesn't exist, as far as I know. That would ruin everything for everyone because if everyone was using it, it'd eventually break. So that is good enough for me as far as profit sandwiches are concerned. So again, you don't need to get 100% of the profits, but that's why confirmation is important, because if you bought here and we didn't have confirmation, it came down. So sometimes I'll admit I do get a little bit aggressive, and I'll be like, I have part of my budget. I'll take a chance, but you got to live with the results. And again, if you buy it here, you need to love buying it here. Let's see, any other Bitcoin miners to look at? And guys, if you want any stocks, cryptos for me to take a quick look at, let me know below. Let's just do a quick look at some of these. Clean Spark settling there on the 0.5 fib, so that looks solid. But again, wait for confirmation if Clean Spark is one you like. Let's see, one of these was looking pretty juicy. Was it Bit Digital or Bit Farms? Yeah, Bit Digital was holding up pretty well. I was wondering if it was going to get a head and shoulders. In hindsight, it's always 20/20, so we'll see. Right now, head and shoulders wise, kind of reminds me a little bit of Quasimodo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. So sorry for the dark humor, but yeah, the other shoulder needs to be more of a shoulder there. Let's go to Bit Farms. And Bit Farms, yeah, this one broke under its trend line. So I was concerned about that, and I was wondering if Bit Farms was possibly getting ready to break down a little bit. So let's go to, I want to take kind of a different path right here. Let's go over to Total 3. So Bitcoin mining stocks are not part of Total 3. Okay, Total 3 is all cryptos, and Total 3 is all the cryptos outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, so usually this looks very much like Ethereum's chart. Sometimes it's a little different. I think Ethereum didn't hold up as well as Total 3. You got it right there. So just imprint this image in your mind. As you can see, yeah, Ethereum more of a breakdown. So is that something that Total 3 is waiting for? I don't know, but just I wanted to take a look at this chart. So we've had these lower highs, and we still have these lower highs. You can see total 3, which really is representative of the altcoin market, hitting that 20-week resistance. I have the 2 red lines. One's from the buy-sell signal. They're an EMA and an SMA. That's why the 2 red lines are a little bit different. But you can see the buy signals before have been short-lived. Is that what's happening again? So we're waiting for the altcoin market hasn't broke out. Even though Thursday was green across the board for stocks, Bitcoin is still under 65K, and altcoin market is still at this key resistance. So I'm not fully convinced in this move yet, but what I do like is how we do have higher lows here. You can see that happened before when total 3 came down. There were higher lows, and all of a sudden it tanked a little bit. So is that what we're getting ready for again, for it to tank a little bit and get down to where this price structure is at around 486 billion, around that 100-week moving average? That's kind of curious to me because you guys know the 100-week moving average has been a deep value target for me as far as altcoins. Earlier in this video, I talked about looking for Bitcoin dominance, maybe getting as high as 62%. And as you know, Bitcoin dominance, getting up there is not always good for Bitcoin price. The price can, as it's going down, as crypto becomes more volatile, Bitcoin dominance can go up. So if there was some bearishness and crypto got under this 48, 49K to this 46K area, I think that would be pretty good deep value. So recently Bitcoin, let's zoom in on the daily so this reflects it better. It broke through this downward trend, so we could take off that trend line. Let's clean this up a little bit. But again, it has to get above that 65K. But let's say it doesn't. Let's say, as we have these higher lows, lower highs, let's say it just gets inside of a wedge and breaks down. Okay, one of the reasons I'm considering that a possibility is just some of the similarities from 2019. 2019, the orange line, that was first Fed rate cut. You can see Bitcoin still went up a little bit after the first cut, but overall it was in a downtrend until this 100-week moving average. Now, it's hit the 50-week moving average a couple times, but so did Bitcoin back here. I'm talking just recently. So again, recently Bitcoin hit the 50-week moving average a couple times. Okay, but going back to 2019, it was on the second time that it broke down, got to the 100, and then here, I'll admit I'm very dismissive of this because that was the COVID crash. I don't know how much that would have happened anyways if COVID didn't tank the markets across the board. So base case, I've just been wondering, is Bitcoin, after the mid-cycle top, which we had in March, we would be somewhere around here, I guess. Is Bitcoin going to eventually break down a little bit? And when you zoom out, by the time that we had the next top, you can see this was the best value you could get after the mid-cycle top, right in here. So I've just been wondering, we have rate cuts that just happened, they had rate cuts that happened near the top. These rate cuts have happened a bit further from the top with Bitcoin. The top was back here in March, so rate cuts were, like half a year ago? So, should the rate cuts be micro bearish? I'm just kind of wondering if that's going to happen. So, again, I'm not as much of a Bitcoin maxi as I am into Bitcoin mining stocks, into altcoins, but should something similar play out where you guys heard me talk about, 150K, that's really kind of the bullseye as far as my target goes for the Bitcoin. It could go 180K, 200K, 130, I don't care. But if we have a similar-ish cycle, albeit a weaker one, each cycle top does have diminished returns more so than before, then this may be some of the best value we get moving average-wise at the 50-week or below it. So we've been around the 50-week. We'll see if we can quit making lower highs. But if not, and we get down here, people are going to be talking a lot of crap about crypto, but I'm going to be excited to get in and accumulate more into my positions. So let's go over to a few of the altcoins I really like. Chainlink, Chainlink, I was really hoping it would come back down to this 860 level. When it touched the fib, I was hoping it'd come down again, and it still might. I could set a buy order at that fib level there at the 236. But since Link broke out, at all this accumulation, I got some Link back here. It's been at an elevated price. Now here, in my opinion, this looks like a Head and Shoulders. And when I see a Head and Shoulders pattern like this, I'd expect that it gets down to this price here. Now it tagged it, but then it jumped up. However, it's underneath the moving averages, it's underneath the trend line. So maybe if I'm just a bit more patient, something like Chainlink can come back here. ICP, I know that's the fibs, by the way. Don't pay attention to the fibs too much because this price was never real. I don't know why charts do that. But as far as the fib levels, just ignore that. But ICP, a lot of altcoins are underneath their moving averages. And so when we're looking for confirmed bullishness, we want to see altcoins get above their moving averages. Jasmy, that's one that people have been hearing like a lot. You can see big move up, and it's been holding this forever. But like one of the Bitcoin mining stocks we talked about, what was it? Cypher. It could also have a big moment where it just tanks and comes down to the 236 fib. So right now it's holding up well. And if you like Jasmy, it's one of those altcoins on Coinbase that doesn't have a buy signal yet. You don't see a green dot like you do before. But should Jasmy be able to hold up, this may be one of the better areas. Chips and Salsa, welcome back, brother. Doge is pissing me off for real. Oh boy, let's go into Doge. Let's try to give you some hopium, brother. Hey, Chips and Salsa, check this out. 200, buddy. Again, market psychology. We want to look for value when there's fear. We've had fear in the markets, dude. Let's go over to fear and greed quick. Someone drinking olive oil, that looks disgusting. It's up into neutral, and do know, even though crypto is up into neutral, we were in fear and extreme fear not long ago, and some of the altcoins might be lagging behind. This one trick stops excessive barking fast. Okay. As far as greed to fear, you can see we've had these lower highs. But again, we haven't gone lower than we did back here. That was at the dip of that whole 10% sell-off in the stock market and the 30% sell-off in Bitcoin. So we haven't gone lower than that. You can see Bitcoin, it's right under 65K. If it gets rejected, it doesn't make get above that 65K. I think fear and greed, other stuff will come back down. So we're kind of at a key point. But anyways, back to Doge. Chips and Salsa. If this was a stock that I liked, okay, and I regularly dollar cost average into, I would like this for deeper value. And again, not financial advice. I'm not saying it can't go lower. Anything can go lower, okay? But we have a buy signal. We have the 200-week moving average showing support, and you have the 236 showing support. Okay, those are good. Now we want to look at things objectively. What else do we have? We have lower highs, and it is also down here for a reason. But again, if this was one of my favorite stocks and I loved it, and you believe in it, then this is good value. Okay, now if it did break under the 236, you would want this this little wick right here to hold at around the 8 cent level, I believe that is, where there's also price action. So, if you believe, I don't know what your price target is for Doge, if you believe Doge will get back to prior all-time highs, where, again, just be careful. Doge got the 74 cents. That was $100 billion, give or take, market cap. If you believe it's just going to get back there, you're looking at a 10x, okay? If you believe it's going to go higher, obviously, you're not going to care. If we get another cycle alt season, you're not going to care whether or not you got it at 10 cents or 8 cents or 13 cents. Okay. Now, Chips and Salsa, I believe you're a regular subscriber. I've talked about how 2017, the darling altcoin was XRP, and it only got back in the next cycle. It did not make new all-time highs. It only got back to the 786. Same with Bitcoin Cash. Same with many other 2017 altcoins that are well known. I encourage you guys to do this. Draw your fibs from the high to the low. You'll see that. And, instead of just trust me, bro, on this, I'll just show you guys. So you can see right here, 2017. Okay, the 786 was at $1.62. 2021, you can see it hit that 786. It didn't really get higher. Okay, it got to $1.95, but as far as the fibs go, that's as high as it got, and that's why, again, I think some of these dying altcoins that have cult followings, you just want to manage your expectations. That's why for XRP, $1.30 is my target this time around. Same for Bitcoin Cash, Civic, some others. You can go and look for yourself. So that being said, the 786 for Doge is at 41 cents. Again, you saw that with XRP, it can go a little higher. Maybe it goes to 45 cents. I don't know. All I'm saying is this. In full disclosure, I do have some Doge. As it was down here accumulating, I was like, it did well last time. I'll pick some up. And I even knew about the whole XRP thing back then too. And I knew in the back of my head, like, you know what? Maybe 40 some cents is the only possible, or is the possible all-time high. However, crypto has a tendency to make a lot of retail people kind of degenerate gamblers. And don't be a degenerate gambler. Do know, if this was any stock, if you're talking to any person with a lot of money, you say, hey, I can give you a guaranteed 2x, hell, 50%, I'll let you get 50% extra profits within the year. Any person with a lot of money, any smart person would take you up on that. So if we can even guarantee, again, I'm not guaranteeing, but if we even believe we're going to get a 4x, that's amazing. So don't be too greedy, okay? Don't be a greedy bastard. Excuse my language. A 4x is okay. Let's go. I'll take even just 2 or 3x. Yeah, 2x to the 0.5, I think that's very, very doable. A lot of assets, I'll see they'll go up, they'll have a 0.5 correction, and then they resume up again. Actually, if we were to just draw a fib from the low to the high, I'm curious about that. It looks like it would be somewhere around the 0.5. Of course, I'm going to have to put it on log, because right now that is not on log scale. Okay, where's the 0.5? Okay, not the 0.5. So it got down to the 382. So here's another piece of hopium for you. When an asset runs up, okay, when you draw your fib inversely like this, when it runs up and it gets support off one of these higher fib bands, that's even more bullish for the future term, okay? For me, the kind of line in the sand is the 618, when I'm going to the prior cycle lows. If it gets underneath the 618, I'm worried about that thing being dead. But when it comes up and it's above the 382, I think that's great. 0.5, that's actually pretty normal for a lot. 618, you start to get a little nervous, and you don't want that to break. So it's kind of how I look at fibs from that perspective. But yeah, you could pick up some extra Doge here. I don't think this is a bad area. Yes, bearish perspective, we have lower highs. Bitcoin needs to break 65K. A lot of what we've looked at, you can see we're kind of in a holding pattern. I think it was even semiconductors. It went and filled the gap, and then it stopped. And so, I'm curious, actually. You can see NVIDIA, it was negative after that big move Thursday by a little bit. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. Is it one of those by the news events? We had the rate cuts, and there's all this extra hopium in there, but now we have to settle our expectations. So for any of you guys who weren't here at the start of the video, I'm going to say this again and again. I see a lot of these charts going around and saying, okay, 50 basis point cuts, they've been bad. And we had a 50 basis point cut, so, head for the hills. Great financial crisis, Great Depression, World War III, all that crap. We don't have a Fed meeting in October. So you average that out, that is only 25 basis point cut this month and next month. I think the Fed did that on purpose. They knew without a meeting next month, they're like, you know what, we're going to do a cut, and let's just do 50 and see how the market reacts, and then we can make a more informed decision. So November, to me, is the next important date when the Fed meets, the FOMC meeting. If they cut by 50 in November, I'm going to be more worried about the short term. If they cut by 25, then I think that gives us a little bit more time. That's kind of how I'm going to interpret that. Any other altcoins you guys would like for me to take a look at? I just want to pop around, take a look at some stocks here. I'll wait for your comments below. Google had a nice little sell-off and then recovery. Google is, it's one of my favorite stocks, so I was like, can this thing get under the 50? It has gotten to the 50 before. This time almost got a bit further down, but had a nice recovery. But, the 50-week moving average, that's kind of the line in the sand between bullishness and bearishness. Not that you should not buy when things are bearish. I think people hear bearish and they think they have negative feelings about that. When you hear bearishness, you should have positive feelings, in my opinion, and look for discounts and deals. When things are very bullish, extended from the moving averages, you're not getting a good deal or discount. So, that's one way I look at it. Meta, by the way. Okay. Comment below if you guys want to. Why the hell is Meta looking like it has a better chart than the other Mag 7 stocks? Okay, NVIDIA, yes, it already did its 10x run, but Meta, it's right near its 1618 fib. We've been talking about this while in my stock videos. Is Meta going to get above 568? Why is Meta more bullish than everything else? When I just think of, as far as the tactful usefulness of all the stocks that are out there, like Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, all feel like more useful things to me. When I think of Meta, I think of old people arguing on Facebook. I'm like, why is this chart better than the others? But I know they invested a lot in their Meta technology down here. That's why I think it was a good buy. They're doing a lot of R&D at the bottom, and their balance sheet wasn't as great down here. So, for a lot of the forward thinkers, they're able to get in down here, and that was pretty good for Meta. Some other stocks I watch. Let's peruse here. IMX. What was the altcoin in 2021 that did really good? I think it's called Axie Infinity. It was a gaming token. IMX is like the umbrella of gaming tokens. So, IMX, here's another one, like looking to get above these lower highs. It has these higher lows, so obvious wedge formation forming. But IMX is an altcoin I think you guys should watch for this next cycle. IMX, Jasmy, Fetch. They slapped AI in the name, so that's going to do great. Fetch, is down here. Gosh, I was lucky enough to get some down here, and I sold some here. I had one of my pets needed some, it had some expensive vet bills, so I was like, you know what, I'll pull some crypto stuff I can get in later, and I did. I bought some more down here when I was accumulating. But obviously, after it did all this, I wish I would have, pulled my money from somewhere else, because Fetch frickin' ran so well. It ran from like 6 cents to 360. Isn't that crazy? Like, some of these altcoins have already done like a 50x, stuff like that. So, and there's even more room to run. That's the crazy part. So, if you missed out on the very bottom, it's okay. Some of these altcoins, mining stocks, you may not get that lucky rare 100x. When I look at alt season and the crypto cycles, I'm not looking to realistically get 100x's. I look at dollar cost averaging in, and I want my portfolio to get 10 to 20x. That is my goal. So, if over the course of 2 years I can get something like 50K in, hell, that's 500K to a million by the end. That is my goal, as far as, and by the way, like, I'm not saying 50K is the amount I'm investing, but that's just kind of my mindset, that I want my portfolio overall with all my cryptos, because you're going to have hits, you're going to have misses. 2017, I had some really great hits, but out of the 10 altcoins I put in 2017, I think I was like somewhere around 4 out of 10 or 3 out of 10. I had Tron, DNT, one other. Gosh, I'll never forget, by the way, being in the gym talking to another person about crypto. Is like October or something, and we saw there was a Doge crypto, and we just laughed it off. I am forever humbled by that experience. I'm like, my God, if I would have just, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You can't play that game, but it's kind of a fun game to play sometimes. Like, if I wouldn't have been as dismissive about Doge when I was in the gym, laughing it up, yucking it up with my buddy, I would have been a millionaire. So, yeah, we knew Doge when it was freaking cheap as hell. But yeah, Tron DNT, there was one other one. I don't know if it was it Mana or Stellar Lumens? I remember some of them I missed on, like AppCoin. I thought that one looked great. And guys, that's, another lesson in crypto. And that happened with me here. I had more hits and misses here, but I did better here, stuff like Chainlink and others. With crypto, even if a project's dead, you never know if it all of a sudden just blasts off out of nowhere. And I think people purposely do this when they're moving their money into cryptos. Some people, with lots and lots of money, they will find a crypto that no one else is paying attention to and just load it up. They know retail's going to chase it during that alt season time, and then they pull a little bit of profit. So I've seen a lot of dead projects run 10x. Obviously not most of them, but I also look for volume. So as far as this next cycle, excuse me, I look for charts that have life in them, that aren't completely dead and just a falling knife. I look for volume because I have seen charts just completely die off. Oh, here was one that I remember talking about. What was it? I think it's called Gods Unchained. Yeah, this one. Wait till you see this crap. So Gods Unchained. I remember people talking about it. Early 22, when people were still like, okay, I want to say Bitcoin was somewhere around the 50 the 50-week moving average. People thought it was going to be a bounce. Bitcoin was going to have a head and shoulders. And people were talking about Gods Unchained being at a deal. And boy, this thing is just sold way off. Now, it does have these higher lows, so this could be one of those random crap coins on Coinbase you could throw some money at now, and who knows, could Gods Unchained give you a 10x or something? Maybe, but I'd rather put my money into other altcoins I find are safer, or other mining stocks. We talked about this with Riot and Wolf. Obviously, stock. Riot, I want to go back to this. 2017, look at that, right with alt season. Got up to $45. 2021, Riot, nearly doubled to $81. If it continues that trend, if we have a top in April of 25, whether we have a 4-year cycle from the first top, we're looking at 171, so it's over 20x. Or if we're looking more 4-year cycle, we'll stick with October, 180, that'd be crazy. So like a 25x, just something to think about. And actually, let's put that fib on, let's take it off log scale. Let's see where the 1618 is. So you can see the 1618 is at 126. The 2618 is at 202. So, you know, if you like Riot, this is just like, and by the way, how I'm looking at this, you can look at any altcoin or mining stock like this. If you're looking at that 1618 target there, you know, that could just be kind of your red light warning, 2-minute warning, be like, okay, we're above this 1618. Try to set a sell target and get the heck out. So as it's hitting these higher fibs, getting above that $80 range, if it does, I'm not saying it will, that'd be an important place to look. So let's actually calculate, let's do this. Let's go back and let's back calculate the market cap. So should Riot get somewhere, I'm just curious, around 170, 170, let me go to my calculator here, 170. So we're going to take our market cap 170 divided by our current price. I'll just do 720. That's a 23x, almost a 24x. And let's take a look at the market cap, 2.18 billion. So I'm going to multiply that. That'd be a market cap of around $51 billion. Guys, earlier in the video, I talked about how the mining stocks in 2021, the market caps of the top mining stocks were in the range of 20 to 30 billion. Obviously, we've had inflation since then, and that's going to organically make prices higher. Again, it's not that it's worth more, it's just money is worth less. And so we're going to have elevated price targets, okay? So I've been talking about how my target for market cap for miners is between 35 and 50 billion. If we hit this trend line, that would put us right at around just above that $50 billion target. So I kind of feel good about those stars aligning as far as those predictions. Dr. 420, got to head out. Thanks for a stream. You're welcome, man. A great Friday. Mike McCarthy, happy Friday, brother. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you back. Let's go over to Riot, or not Riot, we just looked at Riot. Wolf. Let's take a look with that market cap target. And we'll be conservative, by the way. So TeraWolf, at its last peak, it was at $43. So that's a 10x. Okay, we're just going to use round numbers real quick. So it's at $17 billion, give or take. Okay, 43, let's just say 44, divided by 4. So 10 or 11x. Okay, let's do 10x. It was around 17 billion. Right? Let's say that we are going to be in that $40 billion range for TeraWolf. Okay, so $40 billion, I'm just going to do 40 divided by 1.72. That would put Wolf at a 23x. Okay, so you're talking about Wolf. Well, now we take that 23x, multiply it times 450. That put TeraWolf at $105. Now, you know what we're going to do now? We're going to take our fib off log scale. This is just one way I play around with price targets and why market cap matters, by the way. Okay, what did I say? $104, $105? Okay, you see where that target is, the 2618. So, in my opinion, if TeraWolf is one I really like, and I do like the potential of it, I'd be looking at the 2618 as a price target or as an area to take profits. Am I going to wait? You know, just some people do this like, hey, we're going 2618 or nothing. No, I think you should take some profits on the way. You know, obviously it could go to the 3618. Why not? Let's take a look at that. The 3618 target, I don't know if you guys can see that number. It's 156. If we did 156 divided by 450, our current price, that's a 35x or 34.66. We multiply that times 1.72 billion, and that's, you know, we're getting these numbers above 50. This says almost $60 billion. So I know it seems crazy, but this can happen in alt season. I've seen it happen the last 2 times. So, this as I would say the 3 6 and 8 would be my very, very top price target. But like, I'd be looking to pull a decent amount of profits within this range right here personally. Depends how greedy you want to be. But my line in the sand, like if it got anywhere near that 3 6 and 8 at around 150, you'd be dumb not to think of withdrawing everything, But then again, watch it goes even higher. But, now is the time. Basically, the reason we're talking about this is now is the time to make your plan. Crap, drop some stuff. Now is the time to make your plan as far as where are your price targets. If you're buying TeraWolf, the fibs are a good way to look for price targets. Where are you setting your price target? Why are you setting your price target there? Just some things for you to think about right now, because I'm telling you, when it gets to that time, and it's only happened twice before, at least as I've been in crypto, it is very hard to think rationally. And that is why here at Market Psychology, we want to look at emotions as an indicator. When you're feeling that greed, that hopium, you want to really consider taking your profits, because if you don't, when things sell off, it sells off quick. It did it both times before. When it sold off quick. You would be better off selling your altcoin here as it was going up than you would have been around here. As crazy as it sounds, a lot of the altcoins were up even higher at this point than they were at this point. Okay, same here. If you were selling your altcoin, around here, you would have been better off than at the very peak or right after as it has its first sell-off. So just something to keep in mind. Have some price targets picked out. Have an idea of what percent you want to DCA out, because right now it's still DCA in time. And should we get another cycle, as the Fed's cutting rates, again, I'm sticking with my 1998 style scenario that there's still a year to run, because it's a 25 basis point average this month and next month. Yes, they cut by 50. They don't meet next month. So that's 25 basis point average. I still think we have a year-ish, which still leaves that cycle wide open, for your cycle, whether we're April, if I can scroll there with my touchy mouse. Again, orange box, that 155K, I talked about how this is my target. We've been above in the dark red, in the orangish red, next the orange, okay? Bitcoin gets in that orange box, altcoins are getting to their highs, Bitcoin dominance starts selling off. I have somewhat of an idea. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water here. I've been talking for a bit. I have somewhat of an idea of where my price targets are. Well, I do have an idea, but some of them I need to write down what percent I'm going to be taking out and when. Some altcoins or miners that I have a little bit less money in, I might be more aggressive with my targets. But with the altcoins and my holdings that have more money, I don't want to necessarily wait for the 20 or 50x2 or not to happen. I want to make sure I not only get my return on investment and then some, but just obviously don't be stupid and greedy and not take profits while I can, if I do have between a 10 to 20x, somewhere solid. So anyways, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching. Hope you're all doing well. Good participation in the stream today, and enjoy your Friday. We got some fall colder times coming up, so looking to do some hiking, maybe kayaking this weekend, and hey, you got to get out there and enjoy it before the weather turns to crap. So yeah, thanks for watching, and take care, guys.